I used to be that guy that would freak people out with crazy psychology concepts and my own ideas about existence. I was 17. In a philosophy class, for fun, I presented a 4-page essay about my idea of an infinitely long progression of the different levels of consciousness, where each subconscious had its own subconscious, that one had another, that one had its own, and so on, and so forth, as well as what would happen if somehow our consciousness switched places with our subconsciousness, completely altering our perception of reality and the way we access, understand, and recall information. This idea fundamentally revolved around the idea that we were just the pilot in an airplane. Sure, we could steer the plane and make it go where we wanted, like to the refrigerator or to school every day, but we were not in control of the way the airplane actually worked. The engine, the slight movements in the wings, breathing, blood circulation, and every single biological process was going on by itself, and the only reason for our existence was to get the body what it wanted. I was under the belief that consciousness only evolved as a way for the body to better navigate the world and to solve problems easier, like getting food, finding shelter, and repopulating. I thought I was crazy. Maybe a part of me was, and a tiny sliver of that person still exists in me, coming up with profound and unusual ideas. I drove myself to borderline insanity, and I began to lose touch with what parts of existence and myself were even real. Eventually, I hit rock bottom, turned to nihilism, and what ensued were the darkest and most unfulfilling months of my life. To move on, I deleted dozens of pages on topics that explored existentialism and philosophy that I had created, and I found meaning in the belief that while people may only exist to create more people, which is the case for every other form of life, and we're no different, I found solace in that the responsibility of meaning was 100% up to us to decide. We create our own meaning, and we are responsible for getting involved in things that provide fulfillment. From suffering, I transcended, and now, because I feel like my life has so much purpose and meaning, I forget that this was not who I was for most of my life. What 17-year-old suffers an existential crisis? What 17-year-old starts to believe that he does good deeds not because he is a good person, but because he is secretly a bad person, undeserving of love, and the only reason he is good is because he would feel bad if he didn't always do what was right? Why couldn't he just exist and be a normal high school student? What 17-year-old starts thinking that everything he believes and desires is just the result of biological manipulation, and that there was no way to separate what was him and what was not? What I didn't know is that my ideas were not crazy. They were real branches of science, and many of them were topics in evolutionary and in biological psychology. Almost everything that I had come up with by myself has been or is currently being explored through research. As I grew up and became more composed about existence and my ideas, I found solace in the realization that the chance of my ideas being correct was equally as likely as them being wrong. This helped settle my mind a bit, and it gave me a more objective stance on everything. A few years later, when I was thriving in my first college psychology class, I heard a sentence so profound that it has continued to be my favorite idea in all of psychology to this day. And it's still my go-to idea when someone asks me to tell them something interesting or crazy. I ask that you try your best to think of what it implies, then we will explore it more. I have my own personal version of what this means, but that doesn't mean it has to be your truth. Of course, we will discuss its relation to trading as well. So here it is. You are a reaction to yourself. You are not you. Rather, you are the reaction to your consciousness and to biological impulses. Your stomach growls and you react by getting some food. Someone cuts you off in traffic and your blood pressure rises. Your neurons go crazy with an assortment of neurotransmitters. Hormone levels are altered. And you react to this by yelling obscenities at your windshield as if the person can hear you. Your self wants revenge. Your self feels attacked. And you react to those feelings. You do not feel wronged or insulted. You are just reacting to a consciousness that feels like this. You are not you. You are responding to you. Consciousness is not one-dimensional. Its complexity is incomprehensible, and I wonder if an organism is even capable of understanding how its self actually works. Think about how weird that is. We are actively trying to solve which parts of our brain are responsible for which parts of what we perceive as reality. What even are we? Are you you? Or are you reacting to the part of you who is listening to this? While watching a funny show, are you laughing? Are you responding to your laughter and smiles by feeling happy? Or are you the part of you that is aware that you are laughing? Look at your hands and slowly bend your fingers back and forth. On your left hand, touch your index finger to your thumb. Turn your palm towards the sky. Easy. Now decrease the blood circulation to your extremities and start sweating. Not so easy. Makes you wonder about this weird thing we call consciousness and this strange body that we operate. Well, apparently only part of it. If you think about all of the processes that your body does for you, it's crazy to think about how little we can actually do besides go along for the ride. Sure, you can move from one space to another, but compare the complexity of the millions of processes, nerves, blood flow, heart rate, digestion, cellular and muscular regeneration, and more, to the complexity of using a few muscles to move from one spot to the other. It's weird to think about. You figured out how to balance on one leg? Cool. While this happened, your kidney is regulating your oh my god. Your kidney is regulating your blood pressure. Your pancreas is releasing insulin to break down glucose. Your spleen is storing information about diseases to prevent them from infecting you again. Red blood cells are delivering oxygen to your muscles. And macrophages are working together to destroy harmful cells. Did you know that a little flap called the epiglottis covers your trachea so when you swallow water it doesn't go into your lungs? Or that after 7 years, every single one of your cells has been replaced by a new cell? All of these things are happening without us. When I think of what we are, I think we are consciousness, or rather the reaction to that consciousness. I am not my arm, I am not me. I am the awareness of my thoughts, my emotions, and my behaviors. Otherwise, I would just be a robot roaming the uncertain fields of existence till death freed me from my metaphysical bonds. On one level, you could interpret I am a reaction to myself as just a weird phrase to freak out stoned people. But on a more serious level, it addresses the relationship between mind and matter, or mind and body. You feel pain when you touch something warm, so you pull your hand away. You are a reaction to nerves. A simplified example, but an example nonetheless. And really, you are the awareness of the reaction to the reaction from the nerves. You initiate a trade. Your heart rate increases and you can feel it beating against your chest. You start to feel anxious. Are you anxious, or are you reacting to the physiological stress response of your body? Are you afraid, or are you reacting to the idea of losing money? By the way, where do ideas come from? Seriously. For people with schizophrenia, some of them think that their own thoughts and ideas are being planted in their minds from an external force like aliens or the government. This is not that strange to think about. When an idea pops into your head, it almost always wasn't the result of brainstorming or from gradually progressive levels of thinking. You didn't build various complex conceptual foundations that advanced with each layer to ultimately arrive at a polished conclusion. They just show up. So it's not unreasonable to believe they are coming from somewhere other than our own minds. Sorry. Anyways, you are a reaction to yourself isn't supposed to be about you being split into varying levels of consciousness. Rather, part of it is about how we react to our own feelings. It's about being more than one-dimensional. Are you anxious, or are you reacting to feelings of anxiety? For example, I don't understand small talk. I just don't get it. I don't know how to do it, but I'll be the first person to sign up for a meaningful conversation. Well, not really, but you get the point. On my birthday, I walked into my college cafeteria and the nice lady who worked there yelled, "Happy birthday, Isaac!" My face turned bright red, which it does a lot, and I was all like, "Thank you, blah blah, you know." Later, she apologized to me because she saw how red my face got. I had to explain to her that it was okay and that my face just does that. There's a disconnect between my physiological response to public attention and how I actually think. I wasn't upset at her for being very kind and wanting me to smile by telling me happy birthday. That wouldn't make any sense. Yet, my physiological response to that situation made it seem like I needed to crawl into a box and hide forever. I was reacting to a reaction. Those same feelings happen while trading. We get nervous, or we react to the altered state of our body by feeling nervous. Have you ever thought about how weird self-awareness is? You are aware of yourself? What? How is that even possible? How can you think about your own consciousness? The more you think about it, the stranger it becomes. Or maybe I'm just an idiot. Both possibilities are equally likely. When you are driving or doing some boring task and you zone out for a few minutes, where did you go? Was that you, or did the airplane go on autopilot? When you realized you were daydreaming, was the part of you that made that realization you? Or was all of that you all along, and you don't believe in the ideas I'm trying to convey? You are a reaction to yourself. You are a reaction to your consciousness, to your body, to the physiological responses, to everything that makes up you. You are not you, rather, you are an existence that lives inside a human and can make it move from point A to point B. And you are the awareness. Of the awareness? Yeah, something like that. Now at this point, I reckon you're either my fiance who watches all of my videos and gets excited when an ad starts playing because it means I just made a fraction of a penny, or you have an open mind and thought this was at least moderately more interesting than your next best option of using your time to do something. Either way, thanks for sticking around. I may have gotten a little carried away with this script, but I hope something I said made you think. If you want to learn more about this, I would love to discuss it further. But I can't really guide you to some website or something because almost everything I said came from my own brain. Or did it come from the awareness of my brain? Or the awareness of that awareness? Or did it come from my... Hey, who are you? What are you doing? Hey, let me go! Let me go!